Most of my dating stories start at the beginning of a relationship, but for this story, I'm going to start from the end because this is the time that I tried to get back with my ex-boyfriend. After a breakup, it's rarely just a clean break. Often because you cared about each other at one point or another, you try and see what kind of relationship you can still have. So often, many of us go back to relationships that we should not. We end up sleeping with that person, we start trying to build a friendship with that person, or we try to get back with that person to be in a relationship, and rarely, if ever, is it a good idea. So this story starts at the end of the beginning and the true beginning of the end. So without further ado, let's get into the story about the time that I tried to get back with my ex. Before I jump into my story time, I want to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, which is Roman. Roman is a one-stop shop that connects you to real licensed physicians based in the United States who can help you address the problem with erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction is something that a lot of guys don't want to talk about. They're embarrassed about it. They don't want to go through the hassle of going to a doctor's office. Roman helps you address this problem from the comforts of your own home. All you do is you answer some questions on the website. You are then connected to a real licensed physician who decides if you're someone that's a good candidate for treatment for ED. Apart from the convenience of Roman, they also send their products in very discreet packaging. So it's fast, it's convenient, and also they send it with free 2-day shipping. Because I'm mentioning Roman in this video, you can get a free consultation if you use my link. Go to roman.com/Travis. Check it out for yourselves. Thanks to Roman for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into my story. This story takes place a long time ago when I was in a relationship with someone by the name of Caleb. He was a really sweet person. He was so kind. He pursued me relentlessly. And eventually we got into a relationship where we had a very, very strong partnership. The honeymoon phase was really amazing and I enjoyed that. I don't even regret it to this day. However, things started to change. We started fighting more often. He started being a little bit more secretive about the things he would and would not tell me. Through that time, I was still sticking it out. He, however, did not feel that way, and because of that, I eventually found out that he cheated on me. I broke up with him that very same day. I moved out of the apartment. Now the breakup was very, very difficult to get through. When you are ripped away from the person that you've spent so much of your life with, it's honestly like coming down from a drug. There's this constant heaviness in your chest and your stomach, and you just can't stop thinking about this person. I knew that I probably should not go back to this person, but there was also this other voice in my head that would rationalize everything that he had done to me and everything that I had done to him. And I thought to myself, if only we can just change a few things in our dynamic, maybe things would go back to the way they used to be. So eventually, about 4 to 6 weeks after I'd gone through this breakup with this person, I had made it through the worst of it. I had just started to move on with my life, and then I got the text. The text message was from Caleb, and he wanted to see how I was doing. It was a very simple text, but it was obviously opening up the door for communication between us. My heart stopped, my gut dropped, my booty popped. When he reached out, I responded because of all those feelings that I had just mentioned. Eventually, one thing led to the next, and we decided to hang out with one another. We decided to have dinner at his house. My friends advised against this, my family advised against this, but my heart had other plans, so I decided to go forward with this. We were being very polite with one another, we were being very respectful when we talked, and it was everything that I wanted from our relationship because up to that point in our relationship, we were not being that way to one another. Eventually, one thing led to the next. We ate the pasta, we enjoyed the night. I walked outside and he walked me outside. As he walked me to my car, he gave me a hug, and then I pulled back, and then he held on to me, and then we kissed. When we kissed, he pulled me back inside, and then we eventually had sex. No, God! Sex with your ex is usually a very, very intense experience. It often is some of the best sex that you've ever had with this person, which is kind of obnoxious because that makes you want them so much more. It was very, very meaningful, and because of that, we were roped right back into the same cycle we had just got out from. So from that, we started sleeping together regularly. Now with this, it was fine at first. It was exciting. We slept together, there were no expectations, and then we went about our lives. But then as time went on, expectations began to grow. We started wanting more. I was very wary about all of this, but then Caleb started really pursuing me hard. He sent flowers to my desk at my job. He was making sure to call me every single day. He was putting forth all the effort to get me back, and I was very much being a passive person in this because I was scared. It's not that I didn't want to be with him, it's that I was afraid because I was waiting for him to drop the other shoe. So I was very reserved, and I didn't really open myself up to Caleb again until one night happened. We were together one night, and Caleb Caleb was on his phone. This was a very triggering thing for me because leading up to the point where I found out that Caleb was cheating on me, he was very secretive with his phone. He would make sure that his phone was always face down. He was very private about this. It started becoming triggering for me because I wanted to look into his phone. So one night we were hanging out and we were watching TV and Caleb kept texting on his phone. Every single time he lifted up his phone, my eyes would dart in that direction because it just made me feel sick to my stomach. We were watching something that's usually pretty interactive. It must have been like American Idol or something where you comment on what's going on. I started getting very quiet because I saw what Caleb was doing. He picked up on this pretty soon. He's like, hey, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing, I'm just kind of tired from a long day. He saw through that pretty quickly and then decided to bring up the topic that I think we were both too afraid to bring up to that point. He asked if I was interested in trying things again seriously. I then voiced my fears. I told him that I didn't feel that I could trust him and I didn't know how to rebuild that trust. I also brought up the fact that him just using his phone was triggering for me and that lack of trust. And right then he goes, it's 5794. And I stop and I look around for a second. I'm like, what? He holds out his phone and he presses the numbers that he just told me in his phone and it unlocks his screen. I didn't know what to do with that. I just kind of looked down at the phone and I looked back at him and he's just like, I have nothing to hide. I'm here, I'm serious, I want to do this, how can I make you mine? In that moment, I just started tearing up. Not because I wanted access to his phone and nor did I want to take advantage of that, but it was the first time that he opened up one of the things that I had felt he'd closed off from me for so long. The fact that he gave me his passcode and gave me open access to his phone was a really big step for him because he was so private about everything up to that point. It was an actionable move to show that he was worthy of being trusted again, and that's what really hooked me and brought me back in. That night marked a new beginning for both of us. I felt that I could finally open up to him, and from that we started going right back to the same place we had just come from. We started working toward a relationship again. Instead of it just being him reaching out to me and trying to build a relationship, I started to do the same. My walls started to come down, my guards started to drop, and I started to open myself up to the possibility of building a relationship with this person once again. The first few weeks of this period were really, really nice. It was the honeymoon phase that we had missed and wanted back all along. However, eventually the newness fades and the flowers stop coming, the excessive text messages stop, and then real life settles back into the picture. I started feeling like I couldn't trust him again and I couldn't exactly figure out why. Whatever the reason was, it was something that I felt and I was afraid to bring it up because there was no substantial evidence that I had to back it up. But then finally this came to a head one night. One night we were texting at home. I was at my place that I was staying at that time and he was at our old apartment. We were going back and forth. It was the only thing that I was focusing on. But then in that conversation, I noticed that his responses started to become a little bit phoned in. Instead of giving thoughtful responses, they started getting shorter or half-assed because he wasn't really giving me the full attention that he was when he was fully engaged in this conversation. I was always triggered by these kinds of behaviors because that's the way he acted before, so it started to build that insecurity in me. As the conversation went on, the periods of time between responses kept getting longer and longer, and eventually he stopped responding. Now it was about 11:30 to 12 when we were having this conversation, so maybe he dozed off. I was the first person to make excuses for anyone, but something told me that that was not the case. I texted him to ask him where he was and he didn't respond, so then I sent another text and I said hello. And of course there was no response once again. In my mind, I think the worst because I've already experienced the worst with him, so I catastrophize situations. It's really important for me in those situations to focus on something else because my mind can ruminate and drive myself crazy. So I kept myself busy for a little bit longer and then I hadn't heard anything back from him, so I texted him again. It seemed like a very reasonable thing to text to someone when you're having a conversation with them, but again, there was no response. So finally, my insecurities inside of myself start to go wild. I start thinking of all the possibilities of things that he could be doing, none of which are good for my own personal mental health, but I let my mind go wild in that direction. In that very, very short amount of time, I started to drive myself insane. I had convinced myself that he was cheating on me, and I realized that I was driving myself crazy, so I put my phone down. Maybe he'd fallen asleep, maybe a friend came over, maybe he just got preoccupied, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then this little idea popped in my head that probably should have never popped into it in the first place. I remembered that when we were together, we had both decided to connect our phones with the Find My Friends app. for those of you who don't know, the Find My Friends app is something that connects your phone so you can see exactly where someone's phone is on a GPS. When the idea popped into my head, I quickly put the phone down and I walked out of the bedroom because there was no way I was going to do something like that to try and catch him doing something that he probably wasn't even doing in the first place. So I put my phone down and I literally walked out of the bedroom. I walked into the living room. And a couple of minutes later, I looked right back into the bedroom, saw that phone sitting there on that bed, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe just a peek. So I grabbed my phone. My heart is racing. I know I'm probably doing something that I should not be doing, but I open my phone, I click on his name. My hands are shaking as if this is still happening. I click on his name and I click on the location, and when I look on his phone, he is driving somewhere south of Sunset, far away from his house. I'm looking at the phone. I watch this and my heart stops because he's going somewhere. Now, granted, he could be going anywhere. He could be going to the grocery store. He could be getting gas. He could be picking up his friend from the airport. Who knows? But I watch it. I watch where he goes, and on this GPS, it's still in this area that we live, and he drives right past that grocery store. He flies right past the nearest gas station, and instead he turns down this street, McCadden. Oh, Lord McCadden. Oh, I remember, Lord Jesus. He turns down McCadden and parks right in front of a residential building. I know it's a residential building because my crazy ass Googled it and looked it up on maps to see where exactly he was. I'm not saying this is a story of sanity. This is a story of absolute insanity. So I pulled out my phone and I sent him a text and I said, I hope that you are safe with whatever you're doing. Now again, this could have been a friend. He could have been doing something for me even, maybe planning a surprise at 12:30 at night at someone's apartment. So I sat back and I watched him on that GPS for about 45 minutes. And then I saw his little GPS marker start moving right back in the direction towards his house. As he's driving back to the house, I see on my phone those 3 little dots of a text message coming through. He is typing a text to me. So I sit there and I'm watching this, waiting for this response to come through from all the text messages that I had sent him from our conversation earlier that night. And then finally the response comes through. Wow, all of this and I was just taking a shower. Now, unless this motherfucker had a shower on wheels, this person was lying. He was lying to me again. I just lowered my phone right there, and regardless of whatever he was doing, he was not telling me the truth. And who knows what he was doing at this person's house at 11:30 at night. I have my assumptions. I'm sure you probably do too. It was all I could do not to screen grab his little Find My Friend location and send it to him. I wanted to, but I knew that that was going to do nothing. So beyond feeling vindicated, I guess, of knowing what I'd already known in my heart was going on, I just felt dumb because I let this person come back. I gave them a second chance, knowing exactly how they behaved, and they did the exact same thing again. So sending that message to him and showing him that I knew what he was actually doing would not make him look like the fool any more than I already was. So at that point, I cut this person out of my life. Any good feelings that I had for this person completely disappeared because I knew that I could not trust this person. If you had an experience where going back to an ex was a positive thing and you ended up stronger than where you were before, please let me know down below, because in my experience, it never was. Exes are in the past for a reason and they should stay exactly where they are so that you have the opportunity to move on. I think the bottom line moral of the story that I gathered from this specific situation was that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Because when they show that to you, just know that there's a good chance that's who they're always going to be. I appreciate you guys watching my video and listening to my story, and I guess that does it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.